$84 trillion is set to change hands over the next 20 years. Whether you're passing it down or inheriting it, the decisions you make today will shape your family's financial future for generations. Welcome to the Great Wealth Transfer, where David Pulcini, CFP, guides you through the strategies, insights, and pitfalls of navigating one of the largest financial shifts in history. What you don't know could redefine your legacy.
What if you had plenty of money saved for retirement, but you ended up paying hundreds of thousands more in taxes simply because you took money from the wrong accounts first? I've seen this play out too many times, and typically people focus on how much they've saved, right? Everybody knows, hey, I've got this in my retirement account, which is important, but we often overlook how to take money out, okay? And the order that you take the money can make a huge difference between a comfortable retirement or leaving way too much money behind for Uncle Sam. So today we're going to tackle one of the biggest retirement planning questions for me. I think this is important. Which accounts should you take money from first? Okay, so let me introduce you to Mark and Linda. Mark is 63 years old. Linda is 61. They've done a good job saving, a great job saving, about $2.4 million total. $1.4 million of that is in traditional 401ks or IRA accounts. Okay, we're going to get to that in a second. $500,000 in Roth IRAs. That's great. $500,000 in taxable brokerage accounts. So they plan to retire next year, and they need $120,000 a year to maintain their lifestyle. So that seems like a positive scenario, right? And plenty of assets, no debt, good health. But here's the catch. Where they take money from each year will determine how long that money lasts. So let's look at two scenarios here. Scenario number one, the simple way, and this is what a lot of people do. We'll call it the simple way. Let's just take money from our IRAs first. That's where most of our money is. So in year one, they withdraw $120,000 from their IRAs. That sounds fine, except every single dollar is taxable. And that pushes them into a higher tax bracket quickly. Okay, within 10 years, their required minimum distributions, or RMDs, are going to kick in, forcing them to take out even more. Their taxes balloon, their Medicare premiums rise, and suddenly they're giving up hundreds of thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes over their retirement. So let's contrast that to scenario number two. We're going to call this the smart way, and instead, they blend their withdrawals. They start with some money from the taxable account, where long-term capital gains are taxed at lower rates. They take just enough from the IRA to fill up their lower tax brackets each year. I call that maximizing the tax brackets. And then they leave the Roth IRA to keep compounding tax-free, we'll call it in the background, okay? This creates smoother, more predictable taxes. It keeps them in a lower tax bracket for longer, and when RMDs hit later, the account balance is lower, which means smaller required minimum withdrawals, okay? In the long run, in this case, Mark and Linda keep more of their money instead of handing it over to the IRS, okay? It's the same couple, the same accounts, same amount of spending, but two very different outcomes. So this brings me to a question that I get this all the time, but I had it again recently. Should I use my Roth IRA first since it's tax-free? And that's a fair question. The idea of tax-free, it sounds really good. It feels like that's the money you'd want to spend first. I don't have to pay taxes, right? But in most cases, that's actually the last account you want to touch. And I would ask why, and the answer is because the longer your Roth stays invested, assuming it's going up, right, the more tax-free growth you get. And if you don't end up needing it, Roth money is one of the best assets to leave to your kids or your heirs. It's a huge difference maker, we'll call it. If we use it strategically for emergencies, big expenses, or legacy, and we don't want to burn through it, it will last a lot longer and it will feel good later to spend tax-free. But we need to keep in mind, just because it feels good to spend that up front doesn't mean we should, okay? So if the Roth is usually last, how should you think about this? And here's the three-part framework that I walk clients through, and with this disclaimer, by the way. It's different for everybody, as we know. Different years bring different tax situations. There are anomalies that would change all of this, but we need to start somewhere. So I start by thinking through all of this type of thing is going on in my head when I'm talking with somebody or our firm is talking with somebody. Step one, typically we want to start with the taxable accounts. Your brokerage accounts first, or your savings are often the first place to pull from. And why? Because withdrawals are not all taxable, okay? Only the gains are. You may qualify for favorable capital gains treatment. It might be 0%. It might be 15%. That's usually better than ordinary income, okay? So using taxable accounts early lets your tax-deferred and tax-free accounts keep compounding. So think of taxable accounts as we'll call it the bridge, especially in the early retirement years before Social Security or maybe your pensions kick in. All right, step number 2, blend in those tax-deferred accounts. So strategically using the 401k and the IRA. But here's the trick. Let's not wait until RMDs force us at 73 years old or 75 years old. And I'm going to get into that in a different video, but let's pull just enough in our 60s to fill those lower tax brackets each year, which I just mentioned. And that does 2 things. It keeps your taxes smooth and manageable, and it reduces the size of your future RMDs so that you don't get hit with the tax bomb later. Okay? For many retirees, these gap years before Social Security are the perfect time to do conversions or take money out, intentionally taking money out from those IRAs while your tax rate is lower, okay? Step number 3, save Roth last. We just talked about this. Your Roth is, again, the secret weapon. It grows tax-free, it comes out tax-free, and it passes on to heirs tax-free. That is powerful. So we usually recommend leaving it untouched as long as possible. It's your emergency fund, your buffer if tax laws change, or your legacy account if you don't need it, okay? I just mentioned tax law changes. When I ask a room full of people, who thinks taxes are going up? Nearly everyone raises their hand, okay? We are in a historically low tax rate environment. For the most part, we can make arguments, but historically low across the board. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I will go with taxes are likely to go up in your lifetime, okay? So inherently, if taxes are going to go up, and you may be forced to take money out later at higher rates, wouldn't we want to save our Roth money for last? Wouldn't we want to take the pre-tax money first and now paying the taxes that we know, or at least plan for what we are taking, right? Instead of just picking a number. Okay, so if tax brackets are going up, we want to plan for that. And of course, as always, there's exceptions, and I'm going to cover a couple, but let's say early retirees under 59 and a half. If you retire at 55 and have a 401k with your current employer, the rule of 55 in most plans, by the way, lets you take penalty-free withdrawals, okay? In that case, you may want to prioritize that 401k. We might want to take it earlier, okay? If you have high expenses early in retirement, if you plan to travel heavily or renovate a home, it makes sense to use that Roth or take those dollars to avoid pushing yourself into a higher tax bracket early on, okay? Then healthcare planning. Sometimes spending taxable accounts strategically can keep your income low enough to qualify for healthcare subsidies before Medicare at age 65, okay? Point is here, I mentioned this. There is no single magical order, but there is a smart framework that we can apply, okay? So let's step back here. Retirement isn't just about having enough money. It's about aligning the pieces the right way. Let's think of it as a puzzle. You may have all the pieces, your taxable account, your IRAs, your Roths, but if you don't put them together in the right order, the picture it won't make sense, okay? Use the taxable accounts first for flexibility and favorable tax treatment. Let's blend in the IRA and 401ks to keep taxes smooth and avoid future spikes. Save those Roth IRAs for last, and that can be a difference maker for you, okay? When you get this right, you don't just stretch your dollars out. You create confidence. You know that each dollar is working as hard as it can for you in the time that we have, okay? In our bonus episode, we're going to flip the script here. We're going to say, what if you're not 55? Where should you be saving so that you'll have all of these options later? And we're going to break down the 3 buckets that every younger saver should use, okay? Withdrawal order is one of the most overlooked yet most important parts of retirement planning and financial planning. If you get it right, you'll keep more of your money in your pocket. Get it wrong, and Uncle Sam takes a much bigger slice than necessary. All right? Let us know if you have any questions, and until next time, make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Great Wealth Transfer Podcast. If this podcast resonates with you, reach out to 6 Point Financial Partners at 585-485-6048 or email dpulcini at 6pointfp.com.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. Information here is provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither 6 Point Financial Partners, Private Client Services, nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of 6 Point Financial Partners. They do not necessarily represent those of Private Client Services, RFG Advisory, their employees, or their clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by 6 Point Financial Partners or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG. A registered investment advisor. Private Client Services, 6 Point Financial Partners, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.